sport he loves so much.
For me, Brandon, it's the word joy. He brought that to the game of football, brought the game to so many people. He stayed involved his entire life. And moving forward, when you think of football, you're always going to think John Madden.
The Coliseum back to its original 70s glory. What a scene in the East Bay, and we're underway in the John Madden Legacy game. Here comes Devin Hester bringing it out. And no chance to get away as they'll get him down at about the 17-yard line. So it's the NFC Stars who will get the ball first. And Charles, as we alluded to, we've got a different era of coach on each sideline. So the man coaching this NFC squad, we'll call him Young John Madden. This is a coach who was trying to establish a foothold in the NFL and on the cusp of doing it very successfully.
Yeah, you think back to that period, those early days as the coach of the Raiders, the late 60s in the AFL and then in the NFL in the early 70s. Coach was a guy who was ahead of his time. The Raiders were one of the first teams that had mini camps, one of the first to film practice, because he wanted to practice coaching as much as he could. And his teams, they were successful right from the start of his head coaching tenure.
And he is going to be stopped cold behind the line of scrimmage. So as we mentioned at the top, well, let's take you through the life of John Madden. And, you know, it's very fitting that we're here back in the Bay Area, not just because John's so associated with Raider football, but also because this was where he spent his formative years.
Yeah, he grew up over Daly City.
Oh, you saw that one coming. It's intercepted, thrown back across his body. And his guys are going to take over at the 39-yard line. Not something you see very often from the members of the AFC West. So this is a conference he battled in for his time with the Eagles. You and I were talking about this before.
Remember, Van Robin coached with the Falcons, he coached with the Vikings. And was there during that time. I think Coach Madden realized his love of football and love for teaching, combining all that together, and that meant being a football coach. So in 1960, began his coaching career at a small college.
So with the missed PAT in his rearview mirror, he goes
way to avoid a dangerous kick returner, I suppose, but you are giving up extra yardage, that's for sure. Because if you put it out of the end zone, they start at the 25. So at a minimum, you're giving up 10 yards to the offense.
on the counter now, it's Sanders. And the play goes nowhere. Losing yardage back near the 40 at the 39. 2 yards the loss, 2nd and 12. And Charles, you know, he was
And Coach Madden, he paid dividends almost immediately. Helped the Raiders win the AFL title in 1968, and that meant a date with the Green Bay Packers in what was now known as Super Bowl II. But by 1969, at the age of 32, just 32, Brandon, John Madden assumed the mantle of head coach of the Oakland Raiders. And what a ride he, the Raiders, and the NFL were about. Anytime he reads man coverage, I don't think it's in this game. He'll test the perimeter, but that time, they were up to the challenge.
and stopped a few yards shy of the goal line at the 3. One quarter in the books at the Coliseum. What a day. It's the AFC Stars with the early lead. This is the John Madden Legacy game on EA Sports. The NFC with the football here to begin the second quarter as they go to work on a 1st and goal.
Let's go now.
Goal line. Can they hold their ground for 2, maybe even 3 more plays?
He'll try again, but he will lose yardage here. Back to the 4-yard line. That'll be a loss of a yard, and it leads to a 3rd down.
That's a really alert defense there because they saw the heavy look come in from the offense, countered it, and brought a little bit of speed and heft. Time play for their defense.
He's got it, and they take the lead at 7-6. The drive summary that time.
Great appreciation for Tom Brady, who turned 45 back on August 3rd because Coach coached a guy like him in George Blanda, who played a long time in the NFL. In this game,
he's got a man complete. And they'll get this well.
to a big play.
So how about that for a chain mover? They're all the way down inside the 40 now for 1st and 10. Now Allen. And maybe a little over pursuit there as he's able to take this down to the 25-yard line. Charles, you talked about John Madden and the Raiders going on a ride. Well, try these numbers on for size. So 10 seasons as a head coach. The Raiders won their division 7 times. They finished second the other 3 times. And he became the youngest coach to amass 100 career regular season victories and is still, to this day, the franchise leader in wins.
And when you think about it, that's where that rivalry with Kansas City really took root. As did the expression, commitment to excellence. And boy, was it personified by the players who played for Coach Madden. On offense, how about quarterback Kenny Stabler, wide receiver Cliff Branch, wide receiver Fred Biletnikoff, tight end Dave Casper, to name a few. How about those great linemen he had? Center Jim Otto, guard Gene Upshaw, tackle Art Shell, all of them in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And guys on the defensive side of the ball, the man Stork himself, Ted Hendricks, Willie Brown, John Matuzak, Otis Sistrunk, and Big Ben Davidson. So many great players, so many great memories.
Brady's throw into the hands of Gonzalez here. Charles, you think about all the success that John Madden had as an NFL head coach, and he had plenty, and we talked about it, including the 10 straight winning seasons, a Super Bowl title. But like any great coach, he also suffered through a few tough losses along the way as well.
And Brandon, those tough...
And it'll be intercepted.
And as we've seen, points have been precious so far, and they just threw some away on that snap. And look, let's face it, as we advance further into this game, that play will be on the minds of everyone who's watching it. They wonder if this is the turning point. Is this the spot where those points were given away and could cost them a ball game?
They'll throw on 1st down with Favre. That'll be caught by Rice. Now the NFC going to call the first of their 3 timeouts as they'll stop it with just over a minute to go before halftime. So they'll come up 1st and 10 now from the 33. On the draw, here's Sanders. And he still has yet to get on track in this first half as they're going to stop him behind the line. Now another timeout called for by the offense as the stoppage will come with a little under a minute to go in this first half. So the 1st down run lost a couple. Now they come up 2nd and 12. Now Favre to the sideline, and that is a heck of a catch as he was able to get both feet in. Coming up here looking for 3 yards to pick up the first. Throwing is Favre.
Had to get open in key situations.
So second down, still 10 yards to go. Ball on the 43. Favre. Sideline throw, it's complete. And a nice job there of keeping the toes in bounds. Here's the 7th play of this drive. This is 3rd and 4. To throw is Favre. Pressure, and the AFC gets to him for the sack. Myles Garrett with a big-time sack on 3rd down. It's a loss of 7. And we're going to get a timeout with 2 seconds remaining in the second quarter. So with 2 ticks left here in the half, on is the field goal unit. This will approach NFL record territory. It's a 62-yard attempt. And this is off target to the left. Didn't get there anyway. So we're at halftime of the John Madden Legacy game. And now we present a special tribute to the man of the hour, narrated by the Raiders' own Trey Mosley.
What comes to mind when you hear the name Madden? Is it the coach who led the Raiders to their first Super Bowl victory? Perhaps it's the broadcaster who entertained millions of fans. Or maybe it's the video game known simply by his name. But no matter what comes to mind when you hear the name Madden, everyone thinks of one thing: football.
The core of it was football. It's the greatest game in the world. The left goes to the right goes to the left.
Madden is on the field. He wants to know if it's real. John Madden goes on the shoulders of his players.
In my mind, John Madden is the most important figure in the history of professional football. Show me somebody else who did it on 3 levels the way John did it. There's nobody.
Boy, Charles, yeah, that is really well done. Coach was something else, wasn't he?
I'm reminded what Al Davis said when he was inducted coach of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, Brandon. He loved the game. He loved his team. He loved the Raiders. He loved this league. And you can see it with everything he does.
No doubt. Well, it's quite possible, though, that now he would say, hey, enough of that. Let's play some football. And the second half forthcoming from Oakland. The AFC offense heading back out. You know, Charles, Coach really loved to utilize his tight ends in the passing game. You think about Dave Casper, Hall of Famer for those great Raider teams. And I think he saw a lot of Dave Casper in an all-Madden staple, Tony Gonzalez.
Tony Gonzalez is the type of tight end I think everyone's looking for. He's a guy that can make some big plays from that tight end position. Let me tell you, you better make sure you have him accounted for on every play.
And that's exactly right, because Dave Casper, he could shred defenses down the middle of the field. And that's exactly what Tony Gonzalez did in his entire career. A 14-time Pro Bowl selection. Only Tom Brady has more. There are 6 guys in the 15,000-yard receiving club. He's the only tight end in there. Tony Gonzalez, every snap he had to know where he was because he could make plays short, medium, and long, and often put the ball in the end zone.
So on the other side of the field now, it's 1st and 10 as they've got things rolling on this drive. Now a first carry for their fullback. Stopped at the 24-yard line after a gain of 5. So now, Charles, to pick up the story we've been telling, John Madden at 42. He just completed a 10-year stint as the coach of the Raiders. He wants to step away a bit from the grind of coaching, but he doesn't want to step away from the game of football. So he ends up signing on with CBS in 1979 to try his touchdown. Tim Brown, a 24-yard touchdown. And the AFC has retaken the lead. Well executed there offensively. Defense looked a little confused, but he found his receiver, and that one good for 6 points.
And the payoff we just saw there tells us how many times they ran this play in practice over the past few weeks, because they executed that flawlessly right here on game day when the situation arose.
So what can Brady do here is he'll lead his guys up to go for 2. They'll look to throw. And this will be caught as they convert here for 2. And around the goal line, especially on 2-point tries, sometimes the QB's best friend is that big target, the tight end.
I love how you described it, because you know he's going to have some length and some catch radius, as well as a big body to keep people away from the football.
There's been a Terry now to kick it away after the touchdown. A break there for this offense as they will get a chance to start at the 40-yard line.
Free kick out of bounds.
Well, you don't see that often. He just mishit it, and it goes out of bounds.
Well, I know sitting up here, and I'm looking at you, and you're looking at me, and I know we're both thinking the same thing. Isn't it easy enough to keep it between the sidelines? Because unless you're intentionally doing it for some reason, well, that's a costly mishit, and now you put your team in a bad spot.
And this
oftentimes interceptions result.
So after the INT, it's Brady. He finds his man, complete. That's Gonzalez. And they're going to get this to about the 44-yard line. So for Coach Madden, Charles, by 1981, his broadcasting career is really taking off. He's elevated to the network's #1 booth that calls all the big matchups. And he gets the plum assignment of calling Super Bowl 16, 49ers and Bengals, and he's teamed up with Pat Summerall. And that pairing ultimately would go on to be one of the most influential in sports broadcasting history.
Influential not just in us listening to them. Remember, they went on and called 8 Super Bowls together. And how they put together kind of the template that all of us broadcasters follow now. Sitting down with the head coaches and the quarterbacks and the stars of each team before a ball game to get extra information. And the way that those two paired together, Pat Summerall, short, concise, to the point, and turned it over to Coach Madden to fill in all the big details.
Line of scrimmage, the 31 now on 1st and 10. Brady now to throw. And that'll be knocked away. It's incomplete. As you mentioned, CD, talking about John Madden, the broadcaster, he called 8 Super Bowls with Pat Summerall, 3 more with Al Michaels later in his career. He spent nearly 3 decades in the booth all told. And not only was he beloved for his mannerisms, we know that, but he was an innovator as well.
Yeah, Brandon, you talk about things like the telestrator, which totally became identified with him, and now it's a staple for all analysts to have in the booth. And then you think about things like turducken on Thanksgiving, when he used words like boom and pow. He helped create the old Madden team. He was a very popular commercial pitch man. And even the Madden Cruiser was unique, and you had to be someone to get a ride on it, too.
They'll try and pound it with a big back Bettis. Now, CD, we did get a little ahead of ourselves talking about John Madden, the broadcaster in the 90s and 2000s, because there was another product during that time period that he became quite famous for. It's And that's the video game that bears his name. Originally John Madden Football when it was first released back in the late 1980s, and now known the world over simply as Madden.
And Coach saw this originally as a way to teach the game of football. The early designs were for a 7-on-7 game, but he said no chance. He would not sign off on it. He wanted to be as realistic as possible. He told them, call me when it's 11-on-11. And he got it.
And that is caught for an AFC touchdown. Tim Brown with his second touchdown of the afternoon. And they are able to add on to their advantage. Circle that drive because that might be one to remember. Well executed to give them a little.
Whether it was in the center of the ring or putting them on the ropes because it was jab, jab, jab. And finally, the haymaker to put that drive away.
Vinatieri now to tack on the PAT. Oh, and now they're going to fake it.
The conversion is no good on the fake extra point.
Okay, they went for the fake off of the extra point attempt. It's a long way to go, and they didn't get there. Didn't get it completed successfully. Did someone dare them to do that? Did someone double dog dare him
I was
to do
going to
that?
ask you,
What was
maybe
that?
they saw something on film, but do you see something on film with those to try something from the 15 on a PAT? I don't know.
The only thing they needed to see on
And here's Vinatieri now to kick it away after the touchdown. And by rule, that comes out to the 40-yard line, so a good opportunity for this offense with solid field position. Well, not one you see often there as he fails to keep it between the sidelines, and that is a penalty every time, and going to give this offense better field position.
And it's every kickoff guy's nightmare, isn't it? Because you don't see yourself doing this, and most of the time you don't. It's absolutely a mishit, and now your team pays the price. Bad field position for your defense.
Officially, it's a 1-yard loss. That's going to bring up 2nd and 11. So, CD, you look at the accumulation of John Madden's achievements in the world of football, the coaching success, the Super Bowl title, the incredible career as a broadcaster with 12 Emmy Awards, Madden the video game. It was very fitting back in 2006 that John Madden got the call to be enshrined into the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
A more deserving person you will not find. He gave an incredible speech on that day, Brandon. So many of his former Raider players were in attendance. He talked about how he envisioned that when the last person turns off the lights in the hall every night, that the bus talk football amongst themselves. And what a discussion that might be.
Yeah, he finished his speech by saying, today feels like the second time in my life that I'm being carried off on the shoulders of others, yet instead of off the field, it's into the Hall of Fame. This has been the sweetest ride of them all. Back now here on EA Sports. It's NFC football, but they have some work to do on the scoreboard as we start the 4th. The numbers for the NFC on 3rd down. They've hit 2 for 4 thus far. This will be 3rd and forever. They'll run with Sanders up the middle. And not a whole lot doing there as he'll get it up to about the 28-yard line. Just a yard on the run there. That's going to bring us to a 4th down. Well, look at the clock. You're down 2 scores. Have to go for this, don't you?
And they thought that as soon as they took over possession. It didn't matter where they were on the field. They were always going to be in 4-down territory. Backed up, in good situation, it didn't matter. So they've been preparing for that on their play sheet the entire time.
And it's Randy Moss complete. And he will finally be shoved out of bounds down at the 30-yard line. The time to pull out the stops is now, and they convert there on 4th down. So on 4th down, a big-time completion. And the defense, they've got to be shaking their heads right now.
Not only shaking their heads, but understand that they committed one of those cardinal sins that they say they can't do at any time. They committed an eye violation, had their eyes in one place, and allowed the deep ball behind them.
So the big play has them all the way down to the 30 now for 1st and 10. Now back to throw. That'll be caught by Cup. You think about John Madden in his retirement years post-broadcasting. He was about as active as most people are in their working years. I mean, he continued to play a key role on the NFL's competition committee. He was available to a wide range of people as a tutor, as a mentor. He continued to teach the game of football to all who would listen. And Charles, as you and I know, he even continued to provide input, a lot of input on the Madden video game.
Yeah, I know a lot of folks that design and build this game certainly look forward to their yearly visits out to the Madden compound that he had out in the East Bay. They pitch the new aspects of each year's game to him, get his feedback, and then get to sit back and spend 6 hours with him on a Sunday, watching football and listening to him tell stories and talk even more ball. It had to be an incredible experience for all involved.
Well, he was really focused downfield, but there was really no viable options. The coverage was too good. They'll try and throw for it with Favre. And it's incomplete. They cannot convert, and they turn it over. The NFC's decision to go for it does not pan out, and as a result, possession switches hands. So now with a little over 2 minutes to play, the road back gets very difficult.
Difficult, but still not impossible if they go ahead and play this thing out. Now the defense has to come up big. They've got to go for a strip of the football on each and every snap to try and give themselves a chance.
No gain on the play as we have reached the 2-minute warning. So the AFC with the football as we welcome you back. And no doubt what they're looking to do is just salt away the final couple of minutes and escape with a win. Another running situation on the doorstep as they come up 2nd and 10. Here's Allen. And he'll get this one up to about the 39 here. And now right out of the 2-minute break, we'll get a timeout used defensively with 1:56 to go. This is a big 3rd down, and you'd have to think we'd see a timeout right away if they can't stop him here. They stay on the ground with Allen. And the reinforcements come in as they're going to stop him behind the line. Now the NFC going to take a timeout, their 2nd. That'll leave them with just 1 remaining in this 4th quarter of play. Here's Ray Guy now as he's on to punt for the first time this afternoon. And how about this, a fake? And he will not even make it back to the line of scrimmage. How
up after the attempt.
The NFC heading back out. Hall of Famer Randy Moss a part of this offense. And Coach Madden, boy, he always appreciated the ferociousness with which number 84 attacked the football in the air.
Five times, but even more so. He showed us all how to go up and get it.
Incomplete. Good effort there trying to take a shot, but it's 3rd down.
I know conventional wisdom
throw here. And now the ball's out. Fumble near midfield. Now you've got to hustle your guys to the line and get them set. Got to try it here. He's back to throw. And it's incomplete. They cannot convert, and they turn it over. They had to go for it with such little time remaining, and that's going to be just about all she wrote for this one. Victory very much in sight now as they'll Brady will take a knee here, and that should just about do it. Well, this has certainly been special. And, Charles, as we wind
not just on the sport of football, but on his family, friends, players, co-workers, and in the lives of millions of Americans who watched it. There would never be another John Madden.
So it's a win here for the AFC on an incredible afternoon of football and remembering the life of John Madden. Before we go, one final message. And for all of us at EA Sports, this one's for you, Coach.
I just say this, I thank you all very much.
Time to decide how you're going to make your Madden NFL 23 debut. You could put yourself back on the game's biggest stage and raise that Lombardi in Super Bowl 56. Become coach once again. And feeling a little rusty on them, head on over to Become Coach, head back to the brightest lights of them all, and take the field in Super Bowl 56. Become coach once again and captain a team of feeling a little rusty on them sticks? Hit the practice field to get some work in before you start a game.
Confused boy, little boys, y'all better keep your poise.